Okay. All right. Again, welcome everyone. I'm Amy Denton, and welcome to today's webinar about understanding the Victor E Bellt Jr. Scholarship that we have at College Foundation. I'm very fortunate to have several of my colleagues on the call today that are CFNC reps and Bell advisors with me. If all of you or any of you would like to say hello, because I'm sure some of your counselors are on the call, you're welcome to say hello and good morning before we start the PowerPoint.
Thank you, Amy. Hello, my name is Skip Watts. I'm the 828 East Regional Rep for CFNC.org. I handle the Watauga County down to Polk County area. So if I can help with anything in the future, you can always find my contact information on CFNC.org or reach out directly to CFNC at 866-866-CFNC, and they'll give you my contact information. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Skip.
I'd like to say good morning to everyone. I'm Soretta Broadway. I'm the 919 Regional Representative serving 9 counties. Far west is Chatham County, far east is Wayne County. It's a pleasure to be with you all virtually. Hopefully we'll be joining each other in person real soon. But welcome to this session. I'm pretty sure you're gonna receive a lot of wonderful information that you can take back to your prospective schools. Have a great day.
Thanks, Soretta. Tequila.
Good morning. My day's been long already. My name is Tequila Barnes Hall, and I am the regional representative and Bell advisor for the 336 area code. I see some of my folks on the webinar this morning, and I just want to say welcome.
All right. So thank you all for saying that and saying a part of us today. So we'll go ahead and get started. I am Amy Denton, the 252 area code region of the state, which is primarily eastern and northeastern North Carolina. I am the CFNC regional rep and the Bell advisor. And my colleague, Brittany Privet, who works the 910 area code region of the state, like the Wilmington area, the southeastern part of the state, may be joining us, but if she cannot, then my colleague Tequila will pick up today. So I'm glad that she's here with us. So let's just get started to share a little bit of information about who this Victor E Bellt person is in the name of the scholarship. Victor Bellt was a Raleigh banker, and he served most of his time in Raleigh in the Triangle area with First Citizens Bank. Very fortunately, he worked his way through the ranks to become senior vice president. And during that time, he also served as the chairman of the board of trustees at College Foundation. That was way back in the 1960s, and he served that for about 30 years. So during this time, and many of you may remember, when College Foundation started way back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, one of the primary missions that the Board of Trustees said for College Foundation would be to start a loan program. So Mr. Bellt took it upon himself, being in the banking industry, went out and served and worked a lot of the banks in the area to get the support, the financial funding, so that College Foundation could be able to offer a lot of the loans to students in our state. I received a College Foundation loan when I was in college, and many of you may have, or your colleagues that you know, your workplaces may have. Over the years, and because of his service to College Foundation, the groundbreaking of the foundation's office that used to be on Yonkers Road there in Raleigh, I thought it was very neat that they named the building after him. And one of the most important, I think, parts of this slide right here that I like to share is this quote that we thought that was really neat that Mr. Bellt shared. And we share this a lot when we do our presentations to our Bell Scholars. This is what they said. Mr. Bellt said, "Our business is investing in the future, in young people, in students. We wish to make opportunities for them and for the state." And he was committed to that. And so back in the late 80s, mid 80s, actually, the Board of Trustees established the scholarship fund in honor of Mr. Bellt and all the years of the service, the selfless service that he made to the foundation. So we're very excited that the funding continues to come in. And of course, the memory of him after his passing in the mid 2000s, we can continue to have the funding to support students going to college in the state. And he and his family have been very vital in this. The scholarship was started, just as I just said, to honor his vision and his selfless service to the state of North Carolina and to the generations of North Carolina students and the potential they have to serve and work right here in North Carolina. So we're very proud to be able to continue to support this. Recently, I've had a chance to meet Mr. Bell's family, and they were just a pleasure to meet and to work with, and they're so excited, and they too are very involved as we award these scholarships to students and wanting to greet and to welcome the new students into our scholar family. And that's what we call them. They are a part of our scholarship family. So we call them our Bell Scholars. Just a bit of history about the program. And did you know that the scholarship kicked off about 14 years ago in the 2007-2008 academic year? And at that time, we were only awarding 10 Bell Scholars. As of last year, however, because of certainly funding opportunities, we have increased the number of scholarships that we can award to 15. So now, last year and this year, we have awarded 15 students each year with the Bell Scholarship. Again, we've been around for about 14 years, and just a little bit about the information regarding the number of nominations that we receive. Every year it can vary, but on average, we receive about 120 nominations for the scholarship. So out of those 120, remember, we are picking about 15 students. And to share a little bit more information about the nominations, let's walk through these criteria, and there are 8 of them, just so you'll know as you're moving forward into next academic year, who you may consider as one of your Bell Scholar nominees. You have to be a 7th grader. The student has to be a 7th grader to be nominated, and this would be in the fall of the 7th grade. They have to be a resident of our state, a citizen or an eligible non-citizen of the United States, and certainly they must show above average academic performance that predicts, some potential for their future. And you know that. You've got a chance to maybe have met them their 6th grade year. Looking at the nomination, you would only have 6th grade criteria to look at when you start awarding them in the fall of 7th grade. So at the end of their 6th grade year, we'd like to see that they have had A or B grades in all of their core classes. And that would be, of course, their math, their English language arts, science, and social studies. They must not have been expelled or have any long-term suspensions. That's a good sign of good behavior and good academic performance, of course. The parents must provide a signed consent form authorizing the school to provide us with the students' grades, enrollment status, their academic progress while they're there with you in the middle school. And then certainly as they progress through high school, you must agree, and the school counselor must agree to be able to share that information with us as long as the family agrees to do that. We never really have a problem with that at all, but that is a part of the nomination that we want to make sure the parents agree that you could share the information with us regarding their academic standing. And the 8th criteria is slightly changed over the years because we know this is changing in the state of North Carolina regarding providing some proof of their family income or their eligibility to qualify for free or reduced lunch. On the call with us today, we have Meredith, who works in the Bell Scholarship Office in Raleigh at College Foundation. And I'd like for her just to maybe talk a little bit about that point 8. Meredith, do you mind?
Not at all, Amy. So just to give a little more clarification. So my name is Meredith, and I handle all of if you ever email into the Bell or have any questions, I'm the one that's always going to answer it. So for number 8, because we changed it last year, we had a lot of questions because a lot of counties and school systems, everybody has free and reduced lunch. So how do you pick? Well, again, we like to say, this is a need-based scholarship. My personal county, we are all on free and reduced lunch, but obviously there are kids who have financial need and kids that do not. So really we are making it, it's the school officials' job to really make that call about who really has that financial need. And I feel pretty confident that, we're not just going to nominate someone just because you're in a free and reduced area. We really do want to see that financial need. We're going to kind of leave that up to you guys, but we really want to make sure that it's not just that your student receives free and reduced lunch, it's that they actually can exhibit financial need, and that's there.
Great. Thank you, Meredith, for that. And certainly as we go through the PowerPoint, if you have any questions, continue to put them in the chat, or at the end, there will be an opportunity that we can have a question and answer in person. So thank you, Meredith, for explaining that. And I hope that helped you, counselors, to understand that point a bit better. So this is the nomination criteria. And again, this will be as the student has become a 7th grader in the fall of the 7th grade. So let's walk through the call for nominations and the timeline of when these things will be happening. We don't actually put a hard date on the invitation that we'll send out to you in September saying it's time to nominate. So we wanted to share this information with you now so you can begin thinking about the criteria we just shared and who you would like to nominate. Of course, you've got all the time in the world between now and September to be thinking of this person. If your school has a college access program, let's say like Year Up or Avid, you can nominate, that school can nominate a second student. So technically your school could then have 2 nominations. If your school does not have a college access program, then your school can only make 1 7th grade nomination for the Victor E Bellt Scholarship, okay? So we'll let you know in the call for nominations that we send out in September. We'll do a blanket share. Meredith will share that information. All of the regional reps, we will send up a follow-up email with you, and sometimes perhaps even contact you otherwise to make sure you're considering a nomination. We'll ask you to return your nominations back to College Foundation by mid-October. Again, we'll put a date on that when we notify you. And there's so many different ways now. We've certainly made the nomination easier for you over the years. We used to do everything by paper. Now we've made things a little bit easier where the forms are fillable PDFs. So instead of actually having to print and to sign, we can allow you to do electronic signatures and electronic submissions back to CFI. You can fax it to us if you so choose to do that electronically or via paper. And you can certainly email the bellscholarship@cfi.org. And Meredith shared with you that she is the person behind that address, the bellscholarship@cfi.org. So what's going to happen? If your student is chosen as a Bellt Scholar, we will place $2,000 per year starting in the 7th grade, and it can be renewable through all of their years of high school and up to their 4 years of college for a maximum total of $20,000. And of course, if there's any type of change in the funds or any college cost, we will work with that on an individual basis and make the adjustments in any type of future awards to the program. We place these monies into a North Carolina 529 savings account, okay? We'll share with you in an upcoming slide about where you can find all these details on our website. But the web address there is that last bullet point, the cfnc.org/Bellt Scholarship. I'll share a little bit more information about that coming up. So let me point out some information about this parent or consent form. We're sharing this with you because we know that you have to submit back to us your school nomination, and along with that nomination, the parent or guardian consent form. And we cannot consider the student as a nominated student until we have both of these forms. So sometimes the consent form can kind of lag behind. You may send your nomination, but we don't have that consent form yet. We have to have both forms to consider the student as a nominated student. It's going to outline the criteria for the scholarship. We will provide it and can provide it in Spanish as well. So some of the information on that consent form will include, of course, the nominee name and other basic demographic data, contact information, which is very crucial for us as we progress through middle school and through high school, a way to reach those parents or that guardian. So we do need name, phone number, email address, and their physical address. The parent or the guardian will have to consent for the student to be nominated, and they're going to have to consent to share share their student's academic standing. And again, if they're not familiar with the North Carolina 529, and we find so often that a lot of people are not, we're going to share some very basic information about what a 529 is and why we are going to be the holder of that account, that scholarship fund, until the student reaches college age. Okay. Just a little bit of information about the checklist, things that we're going to have you to be considering as you progress toward the fall. Review the criteria carefully. You can find that at the Bell Scholarship webpage, and identify a student who meets the criteria for you to nominate. Give the parent or the guardian a copy of the scholarship eligibility criteria, and of course the parent a consent form. They can return it electronically. Of course, with your nomination form, all of that can be submitted back to us. Provide the proper signatures. Sometimes we've gotten forms that did not contain the signatures. We need to make sure that you, as a school official, whether it be the principal, the school counselor, whoever it may be, is providing the proof through the signature. And of course, I've already shared with you, we make it as easy as possible to receive the information back to us. Mail, email, fax, we'll get the information from you. So let's walk through now the renewal requirements. Let's say that your student has been named a Bell Scholar. So they have received the scholarship in the 7th grade. So through the 11th grade, this is some of the criteria that they must meet every year in order to continue to receive the $2,000 funding in their 529 account. The renewal form will be sent to the student. The student must make sure that they provide you with the form so you can sign it and you can certify that the scholar has met these academic requirements. So at the end of the 7th grade, the student must have made no less than a C in any of their core classes, those future ready core, as of the 8th grade that I show at the bottom of the screen there. Same thing with 8th grade, no less than a C, must not have had any expulsions or long-term suspensions. So that's for you as a middle school counselor. That's the main thing you need to be concentrating on to certify that they can continue to receive the scholarship. When they move on into high school, the high school counselors will then pick up with the certifying for College Foundation to give the funding. As of the end of the 9th and 10th grade, the student must have earned at least a 2.25 unweighted GPA, or weighted, whichever one it may be. We'll take the higher. Enrolled in the Future Ready Core, no expulsions or long-term suspensions. As of the end of the 11th grade, we ask that the student have taken the SAT or ACT. Now, certainly this past year, for those students that were graduating and with everything regarding college admissions, we allowed that exemption for students if they had not perhaps taken the SAT or ACT. But we do prefer that they have taken either of those tests, earned at least the 2.25 GPA, remain enrolled in Future Ready Core moving into their 12th grade year, and certainly, again, have had no suspensions or expulsions. Now, students also, we've had many students that move into an early college situation, and that's perfectly okay. It works the same as any other student, maintaining the grade requirement, even in the coursework that they're taking in college. So we know that that's the same. And of course, as long as they have had no expulsions or no other behavioral problems there in school, we're going to continue to add the funding. So even in that 13th year of school, we'll provide the funding as well. At the end of the 12th grade, things change a little bit. The student must have earned at least the 2.25 GPA, Future Ready course study, all that's the same. So we're going to provide to that student that's graduating from high school a certification form to let us know where they're going to college, the amount of funds that they have eligible to withdraw, to be asked to be withdrawn to support their college educations and any bills that they may have. We're going to ask that Bell Scholar to provide a transcript to us so that we can certify that they've met the GPA requirement. At the end of the 12th grade, it's kind of taken away from the school counselor. The school counselor really doesn't have to provide certification. We ask that the student provide that information to us directly. And of course, the student must provide the documentation of where they're going to be enrolled, whether it be the associate's degree or a bachelor's degree. We do not set parameters on that regarding the scholarship. The student can certainly attend a community college with no problems, and we welcome that. So a copy of the acceptance letter or some other proof of enrollment will need to be supplied to College Foundation for us to certify that the student can continue to get the funding. Once the student is in college, so after their college freshman year and for every year of college, up to the maximum of 4 years, the Bell Scholar will present us with their college transcript, and as long as they've met a 2.0 GPA, a good solid C average in college, we're going to be able to provide the funding to them. And at that point in time, again, the process of the renewal is a little bit differently because it's all on the student to provide the information to us. So I hope that kind of gives a little bit of understanding better about how the student can continue the program. We have had students that were not able to renew the scholarship for various reasons. They did not maintain their grades. We're very serious about that, and we are very concerned that, you know, this program was started because of a nomination you made, and they showed potential for a lot of success in the future, and we want to do everything we can possible to help that student. So we will. So again, these are just some important notes, and let's review the process. When we receive the renewal form, and as long as the certification has been made, we're going to place that $2,000 into the student's account. We will continue to administer that 529 on behalf of the student. The student does not get the funding. We hold on to the funding until the student goes to college and asks us to make a withdrawal. At that point in time, we will send any of those disbursements directly to the college where the student is enrolled. And we're going to do that typically within a week's time, within 5 business days. Even if the student is not attending college for the upcoming year, the renewal and the disbursement form will still be due to us. We ask that students sometime write a little note to say that they're sitting out a year, there's some sort of hardship in the family, whatever it may be. So we're going to ask that we still receive that form so we'll know what's going on with the student. We cannot process a disbursement. We cannot withdraw funding without the student's transcript. We must verify that they've made the grades. And certainly any student graduating with their associate's or their bachelor's degree who still may have a balance in their 529 account, they can use the full remaining balance at any time for graduate or any other professional degree programs. And we've had some students to do that. I have a student, one of my Bell Scholars, that is at UNC Chapel Hill on the large scholarship that covers all the cost. She's planning to go to graduate school. And at that point in graduate school, she's going to need the funding. So it's because of this $20,000, she's going to have most of her graduate school paid for, because Carolina paid for, of course, through the Moorhead Scholarship, all of her undergraduate costs. You can't beat that. That's outstanding. Last page of notes and reminders here that we want to make sure we get across to you in the importance of, on top of the reminders we make to our students, that you can help us. If the student does not turn back in to that renewal form, the scholarship can be terminated. And again, we've had students that have been terminated because they did not return the form. After multiple attempts to try to get them to return the form, at some point in time, we just have to draw the line. If there's an issue or some sort of concern or problem with meeting any of the requirements that we've talked about, the student's going to have to contact us and provide some sort of written statement explaining their circumstance. And certainly we can potentially grant a probationary renewal until they are able to get back on their feet and get reestablished. From the point that the student graduates from high school, they have 8 years to use the $20,000. So that's why a lot of students certainly have the opportunity, if they have a balance on their scholarship funding as undergraduate, can wait a couple years before deciding to go back to graduate school. So that 8-year period, those funds will still sit there for them to use. At the end of the 8 years, of course, the monies go away. The student can no longer have access to those funding opportunities. We will place the funding on hold if the student indicates that he or she is going to school out of state. The student must attend a North Carolina college. But if they, for some reason, say that they're going out of state to a college, we don't know if they're going to return to us to finish out that education or to pursue another degree. So if they move out of state, we will place the funding on hold and wait until they return to our state, if indeed they do, to be able to issue them the rights to use the funding again. Again, any funds not dispersed within the 8 years of graduation will be forfeited, and certainly we will make exceptions for any students that are going to a military service, or if there's other extenuating circumstances. We understand that. All the rules and the regulations and fine detail that we have talked about is there at the cfnc.org/Bell Scholarship. And this is the page that I have reminded you about several times. We have all the criteria there. Look at the bottom of the page and the arrows that we have pointed out there. The renewal eligibility for you to help to remind that student, we need your forms. You've got to make the grades. How we disperse the funding. We tell students and their parents and guardians to come out to this website to make sure they know how we can disperse those fundings. We get questions about that a lot. So we've put everything there on the CFNC website to make sure you have easy access to get to it. So, all right. So Tequila, I think if you don't mind, will you pick up here with the role of the school counselors and some of the family members, so we'll know how to guide them throughout the process.
All right, Amy, I think Brittany is also on.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Brittany. Very good. Okay. Well, good. Well, Brittany, if you'll pick up, then that's perfect.
Sorry about that. And good morning, everybody. So sorry I wasn't here for introductions. I had a couple of technical difficulties this morning, as we all have gotten used to over the pandemic and this year of virtual learning and presentations. So I appreciate your patience this morning. My name is Brittany Privet, and I am the regional representative for the 910 area code. So I work in Southeastern North Carolina, and I see a few of my counselors on here this morning. So thank you so much for joining us. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about your role as a counselor and kind of moving forward when it comes to communication and helping your student maintain their Bell Scholarship. So I would say the biggest piece of your role as a counselor is communication. We want you to be our liaison between us and the student. You have the most contact with the student, and so we're going to lean on you heavily to help us make that contact with the student and maintain a relationship with the student as they progress through middle school and high school onto their higher education. So as a school counselor, we're hoping that you will help us follow up with families to make sure the forms that we need are completed, and the nomination consent form and the renewal process are annually completed and submitted to us in a timely manner. Again, we're talking money here, so making sure that we adhere to deadlines and that we're encouraging the students to follow up with us if there are any address changes, any issues with their grades or anything like that. We want you to help us make sure that we're maintaining that communication. And as we know, we have a lot of students who may move or students who may experience some hardship in the classroom, and we want to support them as their Bell advisor. So any communication that you can send to us and help them get their forms in a timely manner and help them maintain their grades is going to be great. For students from 7th to 11th grade, we need you to sign their renewal form, certifying that the Bell Scholar meets their academic eligibility requirements. So again, if the student is doing well in school, or if there's a dip in grades or anything like that, we definitely want you to reach out to us so that we can help support the student. And we'll need that signed renewal form each year to ensure that they're maintaining their academic eligibility, or communication if they're not meeting that academic eligibility. We're also going to ask you to work with us so that we can celebrate the student each year. So if you have any award ceremonies, if you do any media releases or anything like that, we would love to be involved. So feel free to keep us in the loop. Again, there's one of us in every area code, so we're happy to make sure that we're making that personal contact with students and celebrating them as often as possible, or at least as often as you're celebrating them at their school, at your respective schools. When it comes to working with us to help make sure that we're keeping contact with the student, we would love to come to your school and have lunch with the student or bring them lunch. We would love to celebrate small victories. So if they make a really good grade on a test, or if something happens at home that we want to celebrate, definitely make sure that we're in the loop on that. We're going to contact the student as well, but if there's anything that you think that needs to be celebrated, or if there's any time that we can come to the school and make contact with the student and visit with them and just make some contact, let us know. We'd love to make sure that we are celebrating the student as much as possible, because this scholarship is a really big deal. So when it comes to the role of the parent, we're asking that students grade through 7th through 11th grade are sent their renewal form every year in September. We want to make sure that we get that back by December. So please encourage parents to get that signed. But of course, that's the role of the parent, and we'll be communicating with the parent for that as well. But we're really hoping that we can get that in a timely manner so the monies can be dispersed in a timely manner. Students grade 12th through college are going to be sent their renewal and disbursement forms in May or early June. So that timeline changes after they graduate high school. So keep that in mind. When they're in high school, they're going to get that in September, in the fall. So expect that in September or the fall. They'll return it to us by December. But once you graduate high school, you're going to start getting that in the spring. So that timeline changes a little bit. And we definitely need it by the end of December. So they get a little more time to send that information back in. As the parent, we're hoping that you encourage them to get that into us in a timely manner. So again, their funds can be dispersed quickly. We want to make sure that they're still maintaining academic eligibility. So as a parent, we want you to encourage your child in the classroom to make sure that they're meeting those scholarship eligibility requirements in the classroom, and also sending us their transcript every semester so that they can maintain the funds. So please make sure that they're continuing to encourage their student to work out that timeline. I had a conversation with my dad last week and told him that Siri can remind you of different dates. So he told me that changed his life, because he had no idea he could tell Siri to remind him of certain things. So he's got calendar reminders 6 months out from today for Siri to contact him and let him know what deadlines are coming up. So whatever strategies that you and your family have when it comes to reminders or calendars or anything like that, let's make sure that we're encouraging our students to maintain the eligibility requirements and turn in their paperwork and transcripts on time. And then we also want to make sure that we have your up-to-date contact information. We definitely like to communicate with the students, either through encouraging text messages, sending cards in the mail, or just taking them out to lunch. So having that updated contact information is going to be really important. So just like the counselor, the parent is going to be another liaison between us and the student. And we're just hoping that you add to the encouragement and making sure that we get this stuff in a timely manner so the students can maintain their scholarship. So between now and the fall with nominations, as Amy said, you could be starting to think about who you'd like to nominate. You could also start contacting us as Bell advisors so that we can have a relationship and maintain that relationship. So as you go through this process, you know you have support and you're getting the most up-to-date information. So we'd like you to go to the website, review that Bell scholarship eligibility criteria. Again, that's at cfnc.org/Bell Scholarship, and you can find all the details there. Start thinking about the students that you'd like to nominate. Again, you work with a lot of different students. We all have those students that we find to be are special or are really achieving great things, and we want to reward them. So start thinking about who you'd like to nominate, and you can email us at bellscholarship@cfi.org. If you have any questions, feel free to communicate with us. We are happy to answer any questions that you have. So that would be either Meredith that you heard from earlier or your Bell liaison, your Bell advisor. But reach out to us. We'd love to communicate with you. We do a lot of programming in schools. So even if it has nothing to do with the Bell Scholarship, the more you maintain a relationship with us, the more we can be creative on ways to engage with your students to help them all start planning for college and career or life after high school.
Brittany, I may ask Meredith, if you don't mind, Meredith, one more time. I know we had some more counselors come on after you provided the clarification earlier about the free or reduced lunch. Do you mind, Meredith, sharing that one more time just to catch everyone up about that eligibility, since they're going to be thinking about who to nominate come fall?
Sure. So again, what we know, we have a lot of schools that and counties that in general, every single student gets free or reduced lunch. And we want to just reach out to counselors and let you know, it's not just free or reduced lunch. We do want to make sure that this is reserved for students with actual financial need. Obviously, a school system, everyone having free or reduced lunch doesn't mean that all of those kids actually have financial needs. So, please make sure that when you are picking them out, we do want to make sure this is used for kids who actually do have that need. Look for other things like, are there, your students, what they're going through. We're putting that really up to you guys. But like I said, we just want to express this is a financial need scholarship, and to please only nominate those students that actually can exhibit that, not just they've got free or reduced lunch.
Great. Thank you, Meredith, for that. And again, if counselors, if you have any other questions about it, continue to place them in the chat and we'll get your questions answered. Thank you, Brittany. We'll pick back up with the next slide.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, Meredith. Thanks, Amy. So as you see here, we have Bell advisors in every area code of the state, and we love making sure that we are not only communicating with our counselors, but really communicating with the community and being a part of our community. The reason we're in different area codes is because North Carolina is a very diverse and wide state, literally and figuratively. We are a very wide state that varies in rural and urban and lots of different things in between. So we want to be a pillar in our community, and we want to make sure that we are helping students achieve their goals. So a big part of that is working with our Bell students and our Bell counselors. So feel free to contact us. These are our lovely headshots, but you'll see on the next slide our contact information. Feel free to reach out to us. We each have our own work cell phone, and so we are happy to text or chat on the phone if you'd like. We're happy to set up Zoom meetings where we can answer any questions that you may have. So if you see here on the next slide, we have all of our contact information. And that's going to include our Facebook and Instagrams. We do like to post frequently about scholarship opportunities outside of the Bell Scholarship. We also post different events that are coming up, like the one that we're in right now. We have an event tonight about exploring HBCUs in North Carolina. So we do a lot of advertising and updates on our social media platforms. Again, we have our cell phone numbers here and our email addresses. We have different ways to contact us because we understand that you have different ways you'd like to communicate. So feel free to reach out to us. Our job is to serve students and provide access to life after high school when it comes to college, career, or again, anything in between. So let us know what we can do to help serve our communities by serving your specific schools and helping with your needs. We do have a Bell newsletter. So if you'd like some in-depth updates about the Bell Scholarship, see where our Bell Scholarships are headed or what they're doing in their lives, feel free to subscribe. You can learn about different things when it comes to different testimonials from counselors. And if you'd like to talk about your Bell Scholar or your experience with the Bell Scholarship, we would love to hear from you. If you have a Bell Scholar that you'd like to highlight, let us know, and we would love to do an interview with them and have them included in our Bell Scholarship newsletter. To start receiving the scholarship newsletter, feel free to email us again at bellscholarship@cfi.org, and we'll get you in the loop. But we try to put that out 2-3 times a year, and it is a pretty great publication. We're really proud of it, and we're proud of the information we share, and we try to keep up-to-date relevant information. So our most recent Bell Scholarship covered information about COVID-19 and how schools and students are adjusting to that. So feel free to subscribe and learn more about how we all can support our students, and also information about what Bell Scholars are doing right now. And the next Bell Scholarship, I see here Dr. Query put in that it is going to be coming out next week. So sign up if you'd like to go ahead and receive that newest scholarship newsletter that's coming out next week. We did revamp our CFNC.org website last summer, and we're super excited about it because we're continuing to improve and bring new features to the forefront. Right now, we're really encouraging our seniors to take their dreams off hold. If they had anything that they didn't complete this school year, we're really encouraging them to complete the college application process and move forward with that. Now that COVID-19 is becoming, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccinations and things reopening. So we're really hoping that students get back on track. So we have lots of resources there, but tons of resources when it comes to planning, applying, paying, and saving for college. And one of my favorite resources is our timeline for planning for your future. We have information for every grade level, but this kind of gives it a better visual so that students can understand things, different tips and tricks of the trade that they could be doing throughout their middle school and high school years. We started at the 8th grade because that's the pivotal year for students who are transitioning into high school, but we have different things for them to be considering each year that they're in high school through their adult learning years to make sure that they're on track to finding success, whatever that looks like for them. We also have ways for students to learn about themselves and find out what opportunities are available to them based on the skills they possess, based on their wants and needs from a career or a college. So I highly encourage students to explore the Plan for Your Future tab, especially. One of my favorite programs that we have on here is the Reality Check program. It's one of my favorite things to do with middle school through early high school students. It gives them a better understanding of how much the lifestyle they'd like to live is going to cost them and what jobs in their communities actually support that lifestyle. So there's lots of interactive activities like the Reality Check for students to go through and get a better insight into what they could be doing in their future. So I highly recommend that they explore our site. Here's more information about different assessments that we have on our site, including our interest profiler, so students can narrow down their interests and find out what jobs or careers are available to them and what schools actually have majors that can lead them into those careers. In 30 minutes or less, they can learn a lot about themselves. We have a lot of students who like to take BuzzFeed quizzes to find out what cat they are or what character on Friends they are. We highly encourage them to take these assessments as well so they can learn about what relevant skills they possess. It's just as fun, but a little more practical when it comes to leading them into a bright future for themselves. We have tons of information about all 111 colleges and universities that we have here in the state of North Carolina. Students can start researching colleges as early as they'd like, especially in the 7th grade. 7th grade is a great time to start thinking about what they'd like to do in their future and what colleges are out there. They can actually go through and do research about colleges. They can save those colleges to their dashboard. And then senior year, they can actually apply directly to most of the colleges in the state through their CFNC account. So as they're doing this research, they can gather this information and save it for senior year for when they can go ahead and apply, but they can also send their high school transcripts for free. They can send their information to these colleges to get recruited. There's lots of ways to connect with colleges through CFNC.org. And for our middle school students, we wanted them to just go ahead and start that process by doing their research and kind of saving that information and seeing what's out there. So like I said, we like to do events like this throughout the school year and throughout the semester, especially now that we are in a virtual world. We're able to do a lot more relevant and statewide programming. So as you can see here under cfnc.org/events, you can find out upcoming events that we have going on. So right now we're in our Understanding the Victor E Bellt Jr. Scholarship for Middle School Counselors event, but we also have an event tonight for students to explore HBCUs in the state of North Carolina. We have an 8th grade kick off to college, to get parents and students excited about heading off to college after high school and what they can be doing to kind of set themselves up for success in middle school and transitioning into high school. We also have one for 11th graders on the same night. So if we have families with younger and older children, they can tune into both with different devices. And we also administer the state's 529 account, which is where this money goes through the Victor E Bellt Scholarship. We have an event to help students and families understand how to save for college coming up. So we really do a lot of different events that cover a wide variety of topics relevant to planning, applying, paying, and saving for college. So check out that events page and register. So if you have any questions or anything pertaining to the Victor E Bellt Scholarship, CFNC.org, the 529 plan, you can reach out to us. You can contact your Bellt advisor. Like we said, we have tons of ways to contact us. So email, text, phone, social media. Follow your CFNC Bellt advisor on social media so that you can be up to date with all of the things that we're doing in your community. Also, again, the email address where you can ask questions or sign up for our newsletter is bellscholarship@cfi.org. And we have an amazing call center where we have very knowledgeable employees who are there to answer any questions that you have, help you with CFNC accounts, all of that fun stuff. And they can be reached at 866-866-CFNC. That's 2362, just in case. So feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help. And again, tons of social media presence, whether it's your Bellt advisor specifically or through our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or Instagram pages for CFNC in general. We have lots of information on there. And we definitely would encourage you to check out our Bellt Scholar playlist on our YouTube page. We have different playlists for different topics, and one of them is specifically for our Bellt Scholars to help them progress through high school and plan for their future. We do record a lot of our webinars, and we'll put those on our YouTube page for you to refer back to if you need it. So check us out on social media, follow us so that we can keep you up to date. All right, I think now is a good time to open things up for questions. I don't see any questions in the chat, but this would be a good time if you have any questions to go ahead and feel free to ask. We have some of our Bellt advisors on the call right now, including Amy and I. So we have Tequila Hall as well. So feel free to ask any questions. Anything I missed, Amy or Tequila?
Yeah, we have a few questions that are for Meredith. Meredith, if you could help with these. One of the questions that came across was what happens to money that a Bellt Scholar has already received if they fail to meet eligibility in the future? What happens to money that they already have in their Bellt account?
That just gets written back to College Foundation to use again for another student. I will let people know that we do, as far as if they don't meet eligibility requirements, we do have an appeal process. So we have had instances where, you know, let's say their grades in college one year and high school just didn't meet it. In past, like in those specific cases, we've asked, you know, what are you doing to help you next year? And then we usually give them like a 1-year pass. And then, but if it happens again the following year, then we wouldn't be able to make, you know, that exception. But we do, especially with the grades and stuff like that, we are willing to help people out with that. We know stuff comes up and there's nothing you can do about it. So we do have an appeal process. If someone ever gets into that situation, just try to be, you know, forthcoming with us, email that, and we can definitely work with you. We feel a lot of people just, they don't want to tell us, and it's okay. We do have a process to help you work with it. If something happens and the student moves out of state or something like that, you know, we do have an 8-year hold. You just need to contact us and we can hold the funds 8 years till after they graduate from high school. So we do have stuff that is in place to help students when things come up that are not expected.
Thank you so much for that, Meredith. And we had another question. The question was if you could clarify a little bit more about what it means to have financial need.
That's such a hard question. You know, typically on the form, usually when you're eligible for free or reduced lunch, usually the family is receiving other kind of benefits like Medicaid or food stamps. Like I said, it's just really hard. I think you do have to know your students before you nominate them. Again, I have a son, and everyone at his school gets free or reduced lunch. But my family doesn't really have that financial need, and my kid should never be nominated for that, even though he would technically be eligible because of the free and reduced lunch. So I think it is something, before you nominate someone, if you are concerned about financial need, reach out to the parents, see if there actually is financial need, and again, make your best judgment call is unfortunately the best thing I could say for that.
All right, thank you, Meredith, for that. Tequila, were there any others, or Soretta, if anybody else saw any questions in the chat that we didn't cover or maybe need further clarification?
Let's see.
Didn't notice anything else on my end.
Okay,
I didn't notice anything else.
cool.
No, I'm not seeing anything.
I do have a question here. Is the Bell Scholarship only offered for traditional public schools or open to public charter schools and even private schools who align their curriculum with the Future Ready core? So that, unless anyone else would like to answer that question, we opened the nominations up to anyone. And again, as long as they met those 8 criteria, and one of those being the big one that Meredith just chatted about, whether they're at the charter school or even a private school. If they met the financial need requirement, then you can still nominate them. And of course, the Future Ready core, we know most of our public charter schools and even private schools are going to be aligned with that similar curriculum as a traditional public school. So if there's any other clarification, Meredith, you need to add to that, feel welcome to. Okay. All right, so good. What other questions? We still have some time. It's about 10 till the top of the hour. If you're welcome to ask other questions. If not, you've heard it enough from us already that you can certainly reach out to any of us as your CFNC rep and your Bell advisor throughout the remainder of this semester, and then the start of the new year. And we hope that things are going to be totally different at the start of the new year, but we'll just keep our fingers crossed and certainly hope that we have more time to be back into the schools to see our students and to see you. If there's anything else that needs to be added, feel welcome. Tequila, Brittany, Soretta, Skip, or any of the rest of the others, or Meredith, feel welcome to. But if not, we will certainly end the webinar very shortly.
I think the only thing that I wanted to add to the conversation, Amy, is that, you know, of course, your Bell Scholars advisors will be reaching out to you guys. We will be acknowledging our Bell Scholars this spring. And some of us may have already been in contact with you, done some things individually to get to know our Bell Scholars. So just want to make sure, that going forward, if you have a Bell Scholar, your Bell advisor will be reaching out to you. We want to make sure that we're celebrating our up and coming new Bell Scholars. We're very excited and very proud of them. And so we just thank you so much for joining us today, and be on the lookout for information to nominate someone in the fall.
Thank you, Tequila. Brittany, any parting words?
I just want to thank you all for what you do. It is a very important job, and middle school is definitely a fun age, but it also can be a very challenging age. So I really want to thank you for all the time that you take out to uplift and encourage our middle schoolers. This year has been tough. I have a brother who is a 6th grade teacher, and I can only imagine the hurdles that you guys have had to jump through this year. So thank you so much for the joy, passion, and care that you put into your jobs. And if there's anything we can do to support you in supporting your students, please let us know. You guys have very valuable jobs, and we're really, really grateful for all that you do. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and certainly we will provide a copy of this presentation with you afterwards. And if you continue to have questions, just let us know.